A few years ago, I was having coffee with a guy I'll call Mark. Mark was in his mid-40s, making a great salary, living in a beautiful house, and driving a car that looked like a spaceship. But when the conversation turned to retirement, Mark just sighed and stared into his mug. He told me he felt like he was running on a treadmill turned up to the highest speed, completely exhausted, but not actually getting anywhere with his savings. Then, Mark told me about a coworker of his who had just retired at age 55. This coworker didn't make more money than Mark. He didn't have a massive inheritance. So, what was his secret? Mark realized it wasn't just about what his coworker was investing in. It was about what he had completely stopped buying a decade earlier. When you hit your 40s, your earning power is usually at its peak. But it's also the decade where lifestyle creep can quietly steal your financial independence. If you are aiming to retire comfortably, and maybe even a little earlier than the traditional age of 65, your 40s are a critical turning point. Today, we are going to walk through 7 specific things that successful early retirees simply stop buying in their 40s. It's not about living on beans and rice. It's about ruthlessly cutting out the things that don't bring you joy so you can buy your freedom instead. Number 7. The new car smell premium. We all love the feeling of a brand new vehicle. The flawless paint, the fancy digital dashboard, and of course that intoxicating new car smell. But people who are serious about retiring early realize in their 40s that this smell is one of the most expensive fragrances on earth. When you buy a brand new vehicle, you are paying a massive premium just to be its first owner. You've probably heard about depreciation, but it really hits home when you see the math. Many people find that a brand new car loses often somewhere around 20 to 30% of its value in the very first year. Take my friend Sarah, for example. Throughout her 30s, Sarah traded in her SUV for a brand new model every 4 years. She was always strapped with a $600 monthly car payment. When she hit 45 and got serious about retiring by 60, she realized she was essentially financing her car's depreciation instead of her own future. She decided to stop buying new and instead bought a high-quality, 3-year-old used vehicle. She paid it off quickly and drove it for a decade. By simply redirecting that monthly payment into her retirement accounts, she gave her portfolio a massive boost. Early retirees know that cars are meant to get you from point A to point B, not to signal your wealth to people at traffic lights. Number 6. Upgrading to the next level house. In your 40s, as your salary increases, it is incredibly tempting to upgrade your housing. Your starter home suddenly feels a little cramped, or maybe you just want a neighborhood with wider streets and bigger backyards. But upgrading your home just because you can afford the monthly payment is a massive trap for your retirement timeline. When you buy a bigger, more expensive house, you aren't just resetting your 30-year mortgage clock. You are signing up for higher property taxes, higher insurance premiums, bigger heating and cooling bills, and more furniture to fill all those empty rooms. Closing costs, moving expenses, and initial repairs can easily eat up a common range of 5 to 10% of the home's purchase price right out the gate. Consider a couple we'll call Tom and Lisa. In their mid-40s, they got big promotions and decided to sell their perfectly fine 3-bedroom home for a massive 5-bedroom house with a pool. Within 2 years, the maintenance costs and the new, hefty mortgage completely halted their retirement contributions. They were house-rich but cash-poor. People who retire early generally stay put. They resist the urge to buy too much house, choosing instead to pay off the home they already have, which frees up a tremendous amount of cash flow for investments. Number 5. High-fee financial products. This one isn't a physical item, but it is one of the most expensive things people buy without even realizing it. In their 20s and 30s, many folks just check a box on their employer's retirement plan, or they hand their money over to a friendly salesperson who puts them in actively managed mutual funds with high expense ratios. An expense ratio is basically the annual fee a fund charges you just to hold your money. A fee of just 1% might not sound like much when you are just starting out. But as your balance grows in your 40s, that fee becomes a monster. Over a couple of decades, a 1% fee often eats up somewhere around 20 to 25% of your total potential investment growth. I know a woman I'll call Maria who sat down to review her investments at age 48. She realized she was paying nearly 1.5% in fees on her primary investment accounts. She wasn't getting market-beating returns. She was just buying her fund manager a very nice boat. She quickly moved her money into broadly diversified, low-cost index funds, where the fees were a fraction of a percent. By stopping the purchase of expensive financial products, she kept tens of thousands of dollars in her own pocket, letting the magic of compound interest work for her, instead of against her. Number 4. Keeping up status symbols. When you are younger, there is a lot of social pressure to look the part. You want the designer clothes, the luxury watches, the high-end golf clubs, or the absolute newest smartphone every single year. But something wonderful happens when people get serious about financial independence in their 40s. They stop caring about impressing people they don't even like. Buying status symbols is an endless game with no finish line. The premium you pay for a designer label is often 50 to 100% more than a high-quality, no-name equivalent. And what are you really buying? A logo. Think about a guy like James. James loved expensive watches. He'd buy a new luxury timepiece every time he got a bonus, convinced they were investments. But when he sat down to map out his retirement at 46, he realized his watch collection wasn't paying him dividends. You can't eat a watch in retirement. He stopped buying status items entirely. He found that true wealth isn't what you wear or drive. True wealth is what you don't see. It's the freedom of a fully funded retirement account and a paid-off mortgage. Early retirees trade the temporary dopamine hit of a luxury purchase for the lasting peace of mind that comes with financial security. Number 3. The daily convenience trap. We've all heard the lecture about giving up your daily coffee, and I promise I'm not going to tell you that skipping a latte will make you a millionaire. But people who retire early do stop buying what we can call the daily convenience trap. This isn't about denying yourself joy. It's about stopping mindless, habitual spending that you don't even really care about. It's the drive-through breakfast because you slept in. It's the $18 fast casual salad every single workday because you didn't pack a lunch. It's ordering delivery 3 nights a week simply because you didn't plan dinner. Take a guy I'll name Dave. Dave tracked his spending for a month and found he was dropping over $400 on incidental weekday food. Not nice dinners out with his wife, just sad desk lunches and mediocre takeout. Many people find they spend roughly $300 to $500 a month on these convenience traps. Over a decade, if invested, that money could grow into a staggering amount. Dave started meal prepping on Sundays. He still goes out to eat, but now it's intentional. He pays for great experiences, not just the convenience of avoiding his own kitchen. Number 2. Ghost subscriptions and memberships. In the modern world, companies don't want to sell you something once. They want to put you on a subscription. By the time we hit our 40s, many of us have accumulated a massive pile of these recurring charges. We sign up for streaming services, software platforms, monthly snack boxes, premium app features, and gym memberships, and then we just forget about them. This is the slow bleed of personal finance. It's just $10 here and $15 there, so we don't notice it. But people preparing for an early exit from the workforce don't tolerate financial leaks. A woman I'll call Karen decided to print out her credit card statements for 3 months and highlight every single recurring charge. She was shocked. She found 11 active subscriptions she hadn't used in over 6 months, including a gym she hadn't visited since the previous year. A common range people discover when they finally audit their accounts is $100 to $200 a month in completely unused services. That's hundreds of dollars a year, vanishing into thin air. Karen canceled everything she wasn't actively using that same day. Early retirees treat their money like employees. They don't keep paying the ones who aren't doing any work. Number 1. Bankrolling adult children's lifestyles. This is the hardest one on the list, but it might be the most important. When we reach our 40s and 50s, our children are often entering adulthood. They are going to college, getting their first apartments, and maybe even getting married. As parents, the instinct to help is overwhelming, but people who successfully retire early have to stop buying their adult children's non-essentials. This means pulling back on fully funding luxury weddings, buying them new cars, or indefinitely paying their rent in an expensive city while they find themselves. I spoke with a composite couple I'll refer to as John and Mary. They were in their late 40s and were sending their 24-year-old son $800 a month to help cover his rent in a trendy downtown apartment. They felt good about helping, but they were doing it at the expense of their own retirement contributions. Many parents find themselves shelling out roughly $500 to $1,000 a month to subsidize their grown kids. John and Mary had to have a tough conversation with their son. They realized a harsh truth. Your children can get a loan to go to college, and they can get a mortgage to buy a house. But you cannot get a loan to fund your retirement. Putting your own financial oxygen mask on first isn't selfish. It's actually the greatest gift you can give your kids, ensuring you will never be a financial burden to them in your old age. Now, let's take a quick step back. It's really important to remember that this is general education, not personalized financial advice. Everyone's situation is different. Maybe you genuinely get immense joy out of cars, or perhaps you live in a multi-generational household and upgrading your home is a strict necessity, not a luxury. That is totally fine. Personal finance is exactly that, personal. There is no one-size-fits-all roadmap, and you should always consider your own unique goals and talk to a qualified professional before making massive changes to your financial plan. The goal here isn't to judge your spending, but to help you align your money with what you truly want out of your future. Retiring early, or even just retiring on time with total peace of mind, doesn't happen by accident. It happens through intentional choices, often made in your 40s, to stop buying things that drain your wealth and start prioritizing your freedom. It's about building a life you don't need a vacation from. If this video helped you think differently about your spending, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these 7 points resonated with you the most. Have you cut any of these out of your budget? Let's chat in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.